Let's try and make sense of this moment. Joining us here and the best seat in the union buildings, I feel, is our Professor Lesiba Teffo, political analyst who is certainly no stranger to the SABC. And here we are, Prof, just moments away from this particular inauguration of the president. And I suppose for many people watching, I mean, when Cyril Ramaphosa first came into, the presidency, we spoke a lot of Ramaphoria, a lot of optimism at the time. And I wonder how much of that you feel exists now.
Well, look, there's something I just want to put forward at the outset. At a philosophical level, Ramaphosa spoke about the new dawn. And rightly so, because it gave people hope. But somebody by the name of Jacob Zuma made it real, made it practical, inadvertently or otherwise. But he made it possible that South Africa enters a real new dawn through a government of national unity. South Africa will never be the same again. It may not be augur well to some, but I'm sure you might want to erect a statue in his honor that though it was not your intention, we thank you, sir, and you thank you a million times. It's a different era we find ourselves in. And with the appropriate attitude, fortitude, and disposition, I'm hopeful that this government of national unity can yield greater results.
So what is that hope based on, Prof? Given that we had a new dawn and the new dawn hasn't yielded the results that people were hoping for. South Africans are essentially poorer than they were. They are unemployed in huge numbers.
Yeah.
And the poverty and inequality levels have grown. So what exactly is it that people ought to be hopeful for at this moment?
Because Sakhina knows precisely why things are not as they should be. And the likelihood is the tender system might be the end of it. Cadre deployment might be the end of it. We aren't saying don't employ people who are aligned to a party, but let it be based on meritocracy rather than informed by kleptocracy. And I have no doubt, all these basic things that brought down the ANC, they know it. And that's why maybe they are saying, in order to redeem ourselves, to shed off this image that out there says we are a kleptocrat, maybe we must bring as many people to help us turn the corner. And I thank them for that, for their magnanimity and graciousness, because they could have still got it alone through at least a minority government.
Yeah.
This is one time, and I can see you are nodding with approval or disapproval. I've been with you for a long time, but I'm saying it, and I can repeat myself. This time I'm hopeful, Sakhina. I am hopeful.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I just want to obviously point our audience to the fact that you might be hearing clapping at different moments. So already some senior dignitaries are arriving. We're still at a part of the program where we're welcoming a lot of the traditional leaders. I heard them welcoming Mrs. Zwelithini, for example, obviously the king of the Amazulu nation. And so there's going to be a lot of that throughout our conversation. Every now and again, we'll just break through and get you a sense of who we're spotting and, of course, perhaps what that means that they're here, given, of course, where we are in our democracy. But we're on to an interesting path in trying to make sense of whether or not there are grounds for optimism this time around, because we certainly have heard a lot of the platitudes before, haven't we?
We have.
The sense of, turning the page, as it were, only to be disappointed 5 years down the line. And in fact, as I say that, I know there are real critics of this concept of a government of national unity. Is it really that, or just, window dressing a grand coalition?
There will be tempests. There will be contours. There will be potholes, right? Much bigger than the one that we experience in the township and villages. But with the appropriate attitude and altitude and disposition and patriotic spirit and the spirit that says it's about the other and not the self, it is doable. It is possible. And I'm prepared like Datelukota to eat my cap one day if things are not as they should be. But I am realistically, of course, optimistic, because I know the pitfalls that brought the ANC where they are. And they are mindful of that. And they are keen to turn a corner. And I want to urge them, to support them, and to say it is possible, it is doable. Because out there, people have had it. And that's why they voted with their feet. They said, not you again. And yeah.
Of course, it's not a simple, exercise, Prof, because within these parties, those who are part of this coalition, they are already experiencing strife within, where people are already unhappy. They've expressed their unhappiness, not only within the ANC. The other parties are experiencing similar sort of ructions on the inside regarding this particular moment and the decision to be a part of the Government of National Unity. So, very different moment 30 years ago in 1994 when we first had a Government of National Unity that was made up of the ANC, the National Party and the IFP. Right. But looking at the moment we're at today, and you talk about the right disposition, the attitude, the altitude, and people coming to this, with that spirit of wanting to take South Africa forward. But given what we've seen, given that the first Government of National Unity only lasted 24 months, 2 years in total, what do you think needs to happen in order to ensure that this one, at the very least, enjoys more longevity?
I can repeat myself as I did many a times. There are my manifesto has about 4 points. If there's 4 points in the first 15, 20 years, they've tried to work on them. The first one, change the Electoral Act of South Africa so that people can elect their own and not the party bosses or the party honchos.
Who's responsible for that? Because that's a legislative matter.
Parliament.
Who is responsible for that? It is clear that the parties who are benefiting from this system are okay with it.
Yes, they are okay. But I tell you, it's precisely because they have failed to do exactly that today they are almost as 40%. Don't make no mistake, they really want to turn a corner. And the situation has availed itself for them so that the thieves, the compradors, right? The tenderpreneurs, the leeches, who will no longer get tenders. Why would they stick around? They will walk away and the few will remain.
But why wouldn't they get them? What's to suggest that is going to change significantly?
I have no doubt, and I'm not going to retreat from this one. They have learned their lessons. And we predicted to them and said, guys, if you don't change, remember what we call sins of incumbency. There's nothing new happening to the ANC. It has happened to all the liberation movements, by the way. History can attest to that. Right. You don't listen, people will vote with their feet, and you will never bring them back.